Welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. And if you don't understand that, just check out episode 8 where I explain it. Today we are in episode 56. And we're talking about the subject of being open. Be open. And I have different ideas here that I want to share with you. I think that we as authors need to be open to some things. And so that's what I want to talk about today. First of all, the thing that we get the most of probably is criticism. Be open to it. I don't like being criticized. I'll tell you that right up front. But when I listen to the criticism and literally think about it and let time go a little bit and don't take it so personally, a lot of times that criticism is actually helpful. It may not have been meant to be helpful, but I see something there, a nugget perhaps, that will improve my writing. Sometimes that criticism is actually meant to be helpful. They're not trying to hurt your feelings at all. They're trying to point something out to you, and so that is something that you want to be open to. Being open to criticism of perhaps of your style, maybe the story itself. Being open to the idea that maybe you can make an improvement here or there. And so that's something that right off the top of the list, we want to be open to that. Here's another one, open to advice. Just yesterday, this is a Monday, and so yesterday is Sunday, in church, of somebody I know in church was giving me advice. And this particular advice was a book that I could write. So that is, actually the suggestion wasn't all that bad, and I might play around with that idea. The thing is being open to it. It shows their interest. That person may never have bought a book of mine, or may never buy a book of mine, but because they are a Christian brother or sister, they have an interest in me succeeding. They know I'm an author, and so they're just simply, hey Ron, you might want to write about something like that. And so maybe it's just spontaneous a lot of times, but it is something that it might be the Lord communicating to you through that person as to something you could actually write. So this is being open to advice. Open to change. Our world, we live in a changing world. Every day things change. Different things come up. You make plans and all of a sudden you have to change them. I don't know about you, but change, I don't know that I change that easily. It's easy to talk about it. But sometimes I get rooted in a certain way of doing things. I get in a rut. And actually being open to the idea of getting out of that rut might at first seem foreign to me. But if I stop and just think about it, well, you know what? That might be a good idea. And so I might experiment and then discover that, oh yeah, I like doing this. I've had people in different situations on jobs. They say, I want you to do it this way, Ron. Not the way you're doing it. I want you to change it and do it the way. Well, that gets my back up. They're criticizing the way I do it. But if I stop and think about it, for one thing, I'm working for them. So they do have a little bit of a right to redirect my thinking and redirect the way I do things. So I got to think about those things and be open to them and give the thing a chance. And don't just say, okay, I'll do it, and then you do it and you don't put your heart into it. When you make a decision to do something, some kind of a change or something, give it a real chance. Put everything you have into making that work. And then if it doesn't work, then the chips fall where they may. But the thing is, you got to start out by being open to change in the way you do things, the way you think, uh, how you apply yourself to any particular task. Open to opportunity. I have had an opportunity come my way recently. It's an opportunity I intend to take advantage of. But when I first came across it, I had questions. I had a lot of questions. If you know, been following me for any length of time, you know that control, being in control of the process, is essential to me. I don't like surprises, and I don't want people who to be telling me how to do something that are contrary to my faith, my practice, my overall thinking. I want to have some control over that. That's how I became an indie author. I went to with a self-publisher, and that self-publisher had specific ways of doing things that took the control right out of my hands. And in the end, there were some things in the book that I didn't care for, that I would have done differently, and I was never pleased with that aspect. Overall, I was pleased with the book, but I didn't have the control, and something I wanted to have in there or didn't want to have in there, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and so I didn't have the control. And that was one of the forces that led me to become an independent author. Well, it also led me to being an independent publisher. So it was in 2014 when my wife and I founded T&R Independent Books. It was primarily to publish our books. Well, guess what? Remember I talked about change? In 2023, my life changed big time when my wife passed away. All of a sudden, I'm faced with huge change. It was giant. It was overwhelming, and I needed God's help. Well, you always need God's help, but in a very special way. And I needed direction in my life. How was I going to go forward? What was I going to do? And God provided that change, that direction. I ended up getting a coach. I ended up starting some courses and redirecting my energies into a slightly different direction. Instead of just publishing for myself, now I started getting ready to publish books for other people. And I have already got some clients. I've got up to 3 different products, if you will. One's a product, the other 2 are actually more technically a service. But these are all things, are opportunities that came as a result of a major change in my life. And see, you got to be open to those things. And don't let circumstances overpower you. Don't let all of anything stop you from being, stop you from serving your Lord. If He called you to be a writer, He has something specific in mind. And so one of the things that you do is that He might change your way, which He did in my case. My wife passed away. That was Him taking her home to be with Him. But He didn't forget me. He actually reached down and He redirected my thinking, my process, and He's been shedding, ever since I got a coach, I've been shedding some old ideas that I had, which turned out to be wrong ideas, and embracing new ideas, new directions, new efforts on my part. And I don't always know where these things are going to go, but when I put my trust in the Lord and allow Him to lead me directly or through this coach, either way, it results in some very positive things in my life and in my business. And so, but it all starts with being open. I can't overemphasize that. Be open. Be open to criticism. Be open to advice. Be open to change. And then be open to the opportunities that the change brings. And there's always got to have an opportunity. There's downsides and there's the upside. The upside is the opportunity. Look for that opportunity. When things, your changes in your life and they're not good, or at least from your perspective, take a step back and look at it and say, and ask yourself, is there an opportunity here? Is God showing me something that is actually going to be an opportunity for me to draw closer to Him, to serve Him better, whatever it happens to be? But while you're doing all this, being open to all this, you need also to be in all be true. True to what? True to your faith. True to the call that God gave you. True to your own persona, if you will, of as an author, or if you're a publisher, as a publisher as well. To be true to them. That's why I didn't finish the sentence here, because there's different things you need to be true. First of all, to your faith, to the Word of God, to the direction that He has given you. If you're not true to Him, then everything else falls down, and it's going to fail one way or another. So be open to criticism, to advice, to change, and then opportunity. But when all of that comes, make sure that that opportunity you have is in line with the Word of God. Make sure that opportunity you have is in line with how God's leading you. Make sure that that opportunity you have is a godly direction, a godly opportunity that you believe God has sent your way. And once you have, if you feel that way, if you get to that point where you believe that this is of God, then you embrace it. Well, how do you embrace it? By getting busy doing it. I had this, one of the changes that I had, or actually it was, really it was advice. A friend of mine, he has gotten a book that he published with somebody else other than myself. But he knew about me, and he sent me a link so I could see some things. I didn't go into it because I don't want to get into any copyright issues. But all I saw was the overall layout of something. And so, but that layout, I looked at, that looks familiar. And then I thought, wait a minute. I used to do something like that when I did my course. And so what has that done? It's caused me to change some aspects of the course. The course material is still the same, but the presentation is slightly different. And it's going back to something that I had looked at before, experimented with, and I don't even remember why I went away from it. But now I'm looking at it and saying, you know what? I like that better than what I've already got. I'm going to change. So I'm in the process right now of changing. Now, if you're watching this and you're interested in the course, taking the course, don't worry about that. The course material hasn't changed. It's still there. The presentation, if you're going through the presentation I currently have in force, that's fine. And you will be able to, you'll get that 2-tier and you'll get all the information you need. And when this thing here becomes active, I will simply switch you over to that, and you'll notice it because it will look different. And I think you'll like the look. But the thing is, none of that would take place if I hadn't listened to him, looked at the link that he sent me, and then so I didn't have to go deeper into it to look at how they did this and how they did that. Because what it did is it triggered my own mind about something that I already had tried, and I don't think I actually rejected it. It just simply came that as I was redoing the course, I changed the way I was doing the presentation, and which is a good way, by the way. Didn't mean to say it that way, but it's a good way. but I like this better. And so I'm going back to that and making changes. And in the process, you, the student, will be enriched, because once that switches over, you'll get a more seamless um, presentation. There's different ways in which you'll be able to take advantage of this, and perhaps in a more beneficial way. And that is something that I want. I always want to be able to make changes in the course that, well, if it improves the content, I'll even change that. But they always change, to update, to make something available to you so that you can benefit from it in your writing career, publishing, whatever it is you're doing. But you have to be true. True to yourself is correct, but true to God is better. True to God, true to God's calling, His enabling, all that. And so if you do that using the Word of God, and you compare all this to the Word of God, then you are on the right course. And so that's it for today. I just wanted you to be aware that you need to be open. Don't be closed. Don't be so set in the way you're doing things that you won't change, won't take advice, or listen to other people. Most of all, you need to listen to God, and He might speak to you through another person. So that's it for today. I'll see you in the next episode.